Today we're making a classic bifold wallet. So this is actually the first pattern that I ever designed, and then for some reason I just never released it. This is actually the prototype for this design. This was the first one of these that I ever made. It's complete with super wonky ass stitching, not very well burnished edges, and I don't know, I just keep this thing around because this is the first one that I ever made. It's a pretty good looking wallet and it's relatively easy to make. And of course the template is free and it's linked down in the description. As always, you are free to download it, make the thing, sell it, give it away, do whatever you want with it. There will also be an SVG file of this template available at the same download link for my fellow 3D printers out there who want to make a reusable template. With all that said, let's just jump into the tutorial and pump one of these things out. The first step, as always, is heading to my website and downloading the file. The link again is in the description. It comes in a PDF with written instructions. When you print it out, just make sure you print it at 100% scale or you're going to have a bad time. And I didn't actually 3D print a template out for myself for this video, so we are going to be downloading and using the paper template. Again, the SVG file is on the same page as the PDF one. Download it, you know what to do with it. Tape the template down to the leather and cut out all the pieces. Next, you're going to sand, bevel, and burnish the tops of all the card slots. I'm using a fairly thin leather here, but I'm still going to skive the T-slots down just a bit. This is optional, but it does reduce the bulk a little bit. Now it's time to attach the T-slots to the inner shell. To position them, I set the outside card slot on top where I want it, then put them in place together. To make sure that it's even, I just measure the distance from the bottom of the T-slot to the edge of the inner shell and make sure it's consistent all along it. When you have it where you want, just mark the edges with your awl. Now scratch up where you're going to be gluing and apply just a thin layer of glue to the T-slots and the inner shell, then give it a few minutes to get tacky. Glue the pieces together and let them sit for a few minutes before punching and stitching up the bottom of the T-slot. Do the same to the other side, then let's attach the main card slot. If you're going to add your maker's mark, now is the time. And just remember that in this wallet, the card slots sit sideways. I didn't remember this, so I put my maker's mark on sideways as if it was like that. Something to think about. Rough up the edges of the inner shell and apply glue to the card pocket and shell. Again, give it a few minutes to get tacky, glue it, let it dry. Now bevel, sand, and burnish the top of the inner shell. You can do this before or after you've started stitching up the top, it doesn't really matter. And also burnish the top of the outer shell. These are going to be going together soon. So I'm going to punch the holes now. I have these Sinabroks stitching punches, which are a round hole, and I like to punch my holes first and then glue it together. If you're using slanted irons or a diamond chisel, this is not going to work unless you have the inverse slant to that one to do the back side. What you'll want to do if you can't pre-punch all your holes is punch the ones on the top and stitch these up. And then once this goes together, you're gonna punch and stitch the rest of the way around. And we're going to be reusing this hole in the top corner to finish this stitch and then start this stitch. So when we stitch this together, you're going to need to somehow poke a hole through that top hole on the other side. You could probably just get away with using your awl to push it through. You're just not going to want to damage that thread in there. So I think the awl would be your best bet to just push a hole through there. Now, if you're punching the holes first the way I do it, punch all the way around the card slots ensuring you have one hole in each corner. If it doesn't line up perfectly, you're just going to kind of have to cheat your punch into the corner there and it'll look just fine. Stitch along the top and stop when you hit the top corner. Then do this on both sides. Now I place the inner shell where I'll attach it to the outer shell, and I use my awl to poke reference holes through to the backside. Usually I just poke holes through at the start and end holes, as well as the corners, but if you needed to change the distance between any two holes, punch those as well. Now I punch the holes on the outer shell, then add glue to both the inner and outer pieces. You really want to make sure that it's a thin layer, otherwise it's going to seep out the holes. Glue the inside to the outside. I use a few needles through the holes just to line them up. Once it's all glued together, it's finally time to start stitching. Remember that we're reusing the hole in the top corner where we already stitched the top together. Once that's stitched up, it's time to sand, bevel, and burnish the edges. I'm going to go pretty shiny on this, but not to a glass edge. If you do want a glass edge, I do have a tutorial I can link right here. Once the edges look good, I like to do a quick coat of leather balm, and then I hit it with the horsehair brush, and that's it. I really love this bifold. It's probably the thing that I've sold the most of, and it goes together in just a couple hours. If you do make one of these, tag me on Instagram and show it off. I do love seeing my templates out in the wild. It's just super cool to see people actually using them. And if you're a new leatherworker, I do have a whole bunch of other videos and a beginner playlist. Click on my profile and take a look around, see if there's anything you're into. That is it for me though, guys. I will see you in the next video. Thanks.